G'day everyone, Richard here from That Fishing Shop down in South Australia at the fantastic Middleton Beach Huts, which is a pretty cool place to be. We've got the ocean just down that way and we've been doing a bit of surf fishing and all that sort of thing. Now a few people ask what sort of lures am I using when I'm talking about micro jigging and what's the whole thing about it. So micro jigs are what the name suggests as little sort of jigs. A jig is just a metal lure that you sort of jig to attract fish. So the thing with the micro jigs that I use, I cast them. A lot of micro jigging in Australia that you read about is about slow falling, vertical jigging off a boat, whereas I stand on the beach and I cast these out and I whip them through the water and eventually something bites them. So this is one that I particularly like. It's a Demiki Tokon 9-gram lure. It's got the treble at the back and it's got this cool hook at the front which is called an assist hook. Now these assist hooks are quite important on micro jigs because rather than just cast them out and reel them in as quickly as possible and hope that the fish bites the end, you actually flick the rod and the rod imparts a lot of action, and this assist hook flails around in the water and often the fish come up to look at it and they get hooked around the head, not necessarily in the mouth but just somewhere nearby. The rod that I use on a lot of these trips is a Major Craft Trapara. It's a trout rod and it's 2-piece and conveniently it fits into suitcases and things like that. The other cool thing about it is that it bends really, it's got a soft action, and this allows for when you're whipping the lures through the water, when a fish strikes, it absorbs some of that impact. The reel that I'm using is a Creed X 1000 size. It's a pretty small reel and I'm using 3 pound straight through fluorocarbon. And as you can see, I set the drag quite light. Again, as you're whipping that lure through the water, when a fish swims up and hits it and goes the other way, you need that drag to come off so that you don't pull the hooks from the fish's mouth. Now, as to what makes a micro jig and what doesn't, I use things, this is 14 gram, a Demiki Balhay long cast something or other. I've upgraded the trebles and I've added an assist hook. I use things down to 3 gram Maria little bits or something like that, and then I retrofit other lures, things like this, which is a classic lure it's called a Toby lure. Whoever the hell Toby was made a pretty good lure back in the 20s, but I've put these assist hooks out the back, and assist hooks are widely available on ZX blades from Eco Gear. And again, there's the assist hook, so you'll often see people refer to them as ZX hooks. That's a ZX blade. So there you can see, I use quite small lures, 9 gram, 3 gram, 14 gram, and I can often catch some pretty good fish on it. Often I catch all sorts of weird and wonderful little things that I put up on photos. So there you have it. If you want to get into just having a cool rod to cruise around and where you see a bit of surf, just chuck some metals. This is the sort of outfit that I take away on most of my holidays, and a lot of times you'll see a lot of the fish. We do a lot of trips down into sort of colder climates, so often hitting Australian salmon or kahawai in New Zealand as they're called, and I catch them on this. You don't need big gear, you just need the right sort of technique and everything. So when you cast out, hold the reel and flick the rod tip around and you get plenty of action. Thanks everyone.